No, I got a really strange one for you. Um, a very intense lucid dream. Um, Intense not because of something that happened, but intense of how real it felt and how I kept insisting to myself in the dream that it was just a dream. Now, the context here is very strange, and I'm still trying to figure out what's going on and the symbolism behind it. But it seems like I traveled back in time to what looked like the 1980s, and I based that off of what I saw. I was in a house. I was in like a very typical Hollywood style bungalow. The place was trashed. There was clothes everywhere. There was bottles of liquor everywhere. And I'm walking around here and going to different rooms, and I'm seeing what look like the members of the band Guns N' Roses in their youth. I'm talking like very youthful, like 20-year-olds. And I'm walking around, and they're all kind of talking to different people and drunk and just doing their thing. But I started paying closer attention to them, and I started to feel, I guess you would call, their insecurities and fears, for lack of a better term, and began a deeper understanding as to why they were doing what they were doing, in their addictive phase. Now, I was never a huge fan of the band. I liked them as a youth myself, I guess. So, why they would show up, I don't understand. Maybe the symbolism of the rose. I know they have an album that has like a cross, and then on that cross it says appetite for destruction. Um, but that wasn't all. Like, I felt like I was just kind of stuck in this old dilapidated house, and I walk into one room, and there's this like heavy set, tall black guy there that looked, actually, he looked incredibly familiar. Okay. And he was like reading all these books, and he looked like he was working, like he was like analyzing something, doing something very important, I guess. And so I sat down and started talking to him, and we had a long conversation. And I asked him straight up, I asked him, how did I go back in time? And he refused to answer. And then I asked him something really strange and said, so if I go back in time, and what if I died in the past? Then what happens to the life that I already led until what happens to my life that I already led before I went back in time? And then he replied, well, don't worry about that. You are actually not even born yet. And I'm like, okay. But he said that if that were to happen, if you were to go back in time and die in the past, then you would simply just adjust to another timeline in which you never lived that life that you currently live before you went back in time in. So, really strange. I don't know what the purpose of that statement was. Um, Obviously, he's kind of implying, infinite universes, essentially. Well, you'll just switch over to another in which you died and not live that life. But still, that's interesting because that life that you lived before you went back in time will always exist in some form, right? Anyway, I got this feeling from this man that he was like an angelic figure. Like, he was analyzing the psychology of this band living their life. So here's what I take from this. Like, I went back to a real party in the 80s that Guns N' Roses, a party house that they actually lived in. And this figure was like from a parallel dimension, or he was like some kind of being, unseen being that they were unable to see. And I got the sense that he was performing tests and analyzing their thoughts and their psychology as they were kind of living this deeply debaucherous lifestyle, right? And so I don't know what it all means, though. Um, Interesting time travel stuff.